Welcome back to Exotic Car Play Place, everybody. Thanks for joining in again. Mark here again talking about reliability, and today it's about BMW. Today specifically, we're going to get into the least reliable BMW engine in modern history. Why this engine is likely going to cause you lots of grief, headache, cost you money, and likely spend countless hours in these service networks. Stick around, you're going to want to find out now. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Mark with Exotic Car Play Place, and today, so it's in BMW's nature to try to seek out, try new technology, new innovations, try to up the performance ante. They're always reaching out to do the next best thing. But unfortunately, when they try some of those things that you find in this vehicle, for example, unfortunately, the engine that's tucked away in this vehicle is the engine that's found in many other cars. For 5 Series cars, X's, 7 Series cars, quite a host of vehicles uses this engine that is a very problematic engine. And that is the twin-turbo V8 N63. That's right, the N63 is actually the least reliable BMW engine in today's lineup. Now, when we say reliable, we don't mean necessarily it's going to leave you stranded on the side of the road and you're going to need a tow. That's not really what the reliability factor is in this case. Now, unfortunately, this N63, through different generations, they've done some tweaking and tuning. They've gone to a hot V, they've gone direct injection in different variations. But at the end of the day, with the hot V setup, where they move turbos to the V of the engine, that's created lots of cooling problems. Cooling, that's right. A place where you normally have to have more airflow. A place where you often put a lot of your electronics. Unfortunately, now they move the turbos and the exhaust manifolds into the V of the engine. What that means now is a situation where all that heat is trapped against the engine, can't dissipate properly, and not only that, they move other parts like the coolant and oil exchangers. They're tucked in there as well, so that overheats, the heads overheat. There's been lots of bulletins now by BMW over the different generations and through the years that have sort of tried to address problems with this engine. Why? Well, where's the problem? Well, the problem comes in massive oil consumption. I've heard of cases where people are seeing anywhere from 3 to 8 quarts of oil within one oil change service interval. That's horrendous. I can't even imagine. You know, back in the day, they say, oh, I haven't even topped up half a quart of oil between oil changes. But this is compounded partially because of the extended oil service intervals by BMW, but also because that really hot spot in the engine where they're not able to dissipate that heat. So again, it fries valve seals, it fries engine seals and gaskets, it fries turbo seals, it fries a lot of parts. And unfortunately, that leaves the customer in the lurch. So the problem is you won't know about it a year, 2 years in possibly, but you start to see excessive oil consumption within a couple of years, few years, and sadly leaves you having to take the car into service trying to deal with oil consumption issues. And that is what's ultimately frustrating. So how serious of a problem is it really? Well, back in 2013, BMW issued a bulletin that suggested that you should have 1 quart of oil consumption per 750 miles. That seems very excessive to me, but they had to do that to try to save face, allegedly. And also, allegedly, there have been lawsuits against BMW for vehicles with oil, massive, excessive oil consumption as found in many N63 powered vehicles. That's a very sad state of affairs because people are just trying to recoup some of the money that they put in. There are cases where people have had to put in replacement engines thinking that there was a problem with the engine specifically because they had 5 to 10 quarts of consumption between oil services, when in fact they replaced it with a brand new engine from BMW, only to find out shortly thereafter they still had what they deem as excessive oil consumption. Again, too much heat in the V of the engine that's not able to dissipate starts to fry critical engine parts, and of course shrinks parts, heats up, boils seals, and everything else that you can think of. Really an interesting design in the N63 as far as performance and technology and innovation goes. Unfortunately, that heat always causes a problem. This is something that BMW has fought with for years. Another great example, the N54. Remember the 3-liter inline 6 where they went with their twin turbos? That car also suffered from a lot of issues too, with excess heat in the engine compartment, frying seals and gaskets, causing oil leaks amongst many other issues. So if you're not sure which vehicle that you've been looking at on the dealership that may be inflicted possibly with these issues, or maybe you have one of these vehicles yourself and you can want to just confirm that I am actually on par here, maybe I'm out to lunch, but everything that I've checked tells me that you can find the same issues anything with the designation 50 behind it. For example, X5, X6, X7 with the M50i, possibly the 550, 550 GT, 550iX. Then you've got the 650i, 850i, 750. You've got the 750i and 750iL. Lots of different variations, but anything with the 50 designation from 2013 to 2019 is using a variation of the N63 and may have some of these problems. Now, if you happen to be a happy owner with one of these, great on you, that's great. Maybe you've got one that's dialed in. But unfortunately, there have been many cases where excessive oil consumption is a real thing, and it's a real fact with these engines. And on that note, you're going to want to check out this series over here, more on reliability with BMWs, and most importantly, this link over here is going to take you to yet one more. Either or will give you lots of great information on some BMW reliability concerns. We'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.